my talk title for this week is The Light at the End of the Tunnel. And all week long, I've been thinking about it in a particular way in terms of talking to you about how all this will soon will pass, and I had stories to back it up, and build this whole talk around this idea that even though it's dark now, there'll be this light at the end of the tunnel. And then just before we came live, I realized that wasn't the talk I wanted to give today. So, but first, a joke. Pastor in a small town wakes up to find a dead mule on the church property. So he calls the sheriff and says, hey, can you come and get the dead mule? And the sheriff says, I can't without the mayor's permission. You got to call the mayor. So he calls the mayor, pastor calls the mayor, and the mayor just starts yelling at him. What are you calling me for? Why are you bugging me about this? You're the one who handles the afterlife. You do something with this. And the pastor says, well, we always like to get in touch with the next of kin.
Yeah, serious rim shot from space here on that one. That's awesome.
All right, I kind of blew that punchline. Okay, so here's my talk for today that's coming right now as we're sitting here together, which is that the light at the end of the tunnel is always here now. There is no waiting for it. There is no walking through the dark. There is no dark except for how we experience it. That in fact, it is how we view whatever is going on in front of us that creates whether we are in a dark tunnel or we are in the light right here and now. That's the truth. The truth is that the light is always here. There's nothing but light. Darkness doesn't actually exist unless we aren't shining a light on it. But darkness never fights the light. Have you noticed that? Have you noticed when you have a flashlight or a spotlight and you shine it in a dark area, that dark area never fights back and tries to push the light back towards you. It simply lights up. That's the reality of what's actually going on underneath everything we see on the news. We see happening in our own lives, the circumstances that are bringing us down, the things, the stories we tell us and the way we're being that has us somehow feeling like, oh my God, when is this COVID finally going to pass? Oh my God, when are we going to come out of these terrible circumstances, whatever it is you're seeing? And what's really going on is the light underneath it. My favorite example presently is what's going on in Portland. What started out as riots has turned into peaceful protest because light wins. Then, in peaceful protests, federal troopers came in and are actually in themselves creating more riots. Now, I'm not making this up because I've seen the videos. I've seen what is actually going on there. I'm getting reports from some very credible people on the ground who have been in these protests, a history professor from the local college, and a surgeon who has decided to stand with these people. And so that at first was really upsetting me that this was going on up there, and I was getting very scared around that kind of behavior from our federal government. In fact, Thomas Jefferson started the Democratic Republican Party because of his fear of exactly this kind of thing happening. Federal government stepping into state business. Then the mom stepped up. I don't know how many of you are aware of this, but a group of mothers decided that they would protect the peaceful protesters and stood in front of them. And then they were gassed and shot at with rubber bullets for just standing there in a line. Again, it would be easy to get horrified and just so upset by all this. And I did, because sometimes I forget that the light is always there. The light is always present. It doesn't matter what's going on, there is light. And it's up to me to continue to look to see it. It's up to you to continually look to see, where is this light? It must be here. Dark doesn't actually push back. Today I read that veterans from the Marines, the Air Force, the Navy, the Army, from all walks of life, stepped up to create the boundary. Veterans who have fought in war have decided that it was their job to continue to stand up for the Constitution, and are once again just standing there arm in arm, not moving forward, not moving back, just standing there arm in arm. And I thought, that's love. That's light. They're not there to create violence. They're there to bring awareness to truth, to support us all in rising up. See, that's the beauty of no matter where you live in the world. It can seem like there are things going on that overpower you. I know that there are times I feel powerless. There are times I feel helpless. But I know that can't really be true, because I stand in love. And from that place of love, take whatever step is mine to take next. And that's what's open for each of us, to stand in love. We can worry about outcomes if we want. One of the downsides and upsides of our movement is how much is focused on results. What results? How are we using this power of the divine to change our life circumstance? But I think that's something way more powerful going on here. It doesn't matter about circumstance. It simply matters about our essence. There is no light at the end of the tunnel, because the light is here right now. We have right before us, in this very moment, the ability to stand in light. I said, I don't know if I shared this particular Zen story with you guys. It's about a Zen master sitting in his monastery. A young girl is pregnant and blames the monk for being the father. So when the baby is born, the entire family goes rushing over to this monk and admonishes him and yells at him and says what a horrible person he is. And because he's the father, he has to take care of the baby. And so they give him the baby. And he says, "Is that so?" And they all leave. And for the next few years, he takes care of that baby. He sees that this is what's in front of him. He sees that this is what love is. And he takes care of that baby. Finally, that woman is so guilt-ridden for lying, she finally says who the father really is. And the whole family is shaken by the fact that they have admonish this monk, and they run over to apologize to him, and they apologize profusely. And after this monk has taken such good care of this child for the past couple of years, they take the child back. Even though he has fallen in love with this child, even though he could feel a lot of attachment to this child. And his answer is that so? So how are you seeing what is happening before your very eyes? Because you may think that you're looking at the facts like I did in looking at those videos of those troopers beating and gassing and shooting at those protesters, and thinking to myself, how horrific this is. And then realizing, wait, everybody is playing out their own expression of the divine. It's so easy for us to look at somebody and say, that person is horrible. What is going on here is horrible. And forgetting the higher sense of all of this, which is that we are all expressing the divine. Whether somebody's racist, whether there's brutality, whether somebody's putting down somebody else, whether the behavior just feels so immoral to us, it doesn't change the fact that it's an expression of the divine. Now, I know that's not so easy to get. And what we want to do is we want to know the truth and have that shift and have that change and have that be different. Because how can that stand? And yet there must be light in all this. Because that's all there is. There can't be anything going on that is outside the light. And so if we want to see the light at the end of the tunnel, we got to see the light in everything that's going on. And so one of the things that I started doing is sitting in prayer and looking at all this and saying, where's the light? And being willing to sit long enough until I see it. And I see light in everything that's going on. In the way people are rising, in the way people want to do more and do better, in the way people are questioning. Now, are there people who are not questioning? Are there people who don't want to do better? Well, those are our greatest opportunity for us to rise. Those people exist to catalyze us. They are our blessing. I've heard people say that, for the past number of years, all of a sudden, racism is on the rise. And there's all these charts that say that racism is on the rise. And I say it can't be true. That actually all that's happened is light has hit darkness. And so we see what was always there. And so if it wasn't for the circumstances going on, we would never have had an opportunity to shine a light on those areas. I have said for many weeks now that I find this to be the greatest opportunity in the history of my life. I was too young in the 60s to really be a part of that. But I am the perfect age to be a part of this now. I have come through so much in my life that has given me a perspective that has allowed me to be a part of what is going on that I am very, very grateful for. And I ask you to look at yourself. I ask you to take a look at any time you are looking at something and saying, that's horrible. Instead of, Wow, there's another area we now have light on. What an opportunity. Wow, the light is shining brighter. Wow, more and more people are rising, looking for what it is they can do to support the good in the world than ever before in the history of mankind. This is so important. What is going on in Portland is so important to the good in the world. There's so much good going on there. Chicago is now taking a look at their city in a whole new way. That maybe if the president didn't say, I'm going to send troops there next, they wouldn't be looking. He may have done he must have done, in fact, the most perfect thing that could be going on right now. Because it is allowing all of us to take a look at ourselves, what we believe, what we stand for, what we envision for ourselves and the world. And I am grateful for that. I am so grateful that we have an opportunity to look at all that is going on with my eyes wide open. Now, I recognize that there are those who are moving through this time in a tremendous amount of fear, whether it be around the virus, the pandemic, whether it be around what's happening with government, on both sides. I read every day people who are so afraid of the Democrats taking over, as much as I read about all those afraid of the Republicans staying in power. And through all that fear, there are those of us who can say, wait a minute, there must be light. There must be, because that's all there is. And we can rise in that. We can let the light guide us. We can find our way. And that's going to be different for every single one of us. You know, the thing about the light is it has as many different shades. I was looking at, I don't know if you guys know this, but when the internet first started, it could only show 12 colors. Well, when it first started, it could only show black and white. But then when it finally did start to show colors, at first it was only 12. And then it got to 126. And then it got it to 250 something. I don't know if you guys know this, but the amount of colors that can now be shown on the internet is like 12 million, the different shades that are possible. That's what happens as we grow in the light. We start noticing the different shades that are going on in everybody. Each person a unique expression of this light. Each person's feeding the whole. There's no such thing as there being anyone on this planet who is not feeding the whole. There's no such thing as a parasite. There's no such thing as a disease or virus that is taking away from life. It all feeds it. And so it's up to us how we come together when to realize we can't, this is what Sundays are about. We come together to remember. That's what I do. I come together with you folks so that I can remember what I sometimes forget during the week, which is there is only one. And so I got lost a little this week, thinking that it was about light at the end of the tunnel. And it took me till only 5 minutes before we started to go, I should have had a V8. No. There's some of you may be too young to know that reference. But the idea being, there is so much more going on here. And the more we can wake up, I mean, that's what it felt like. It felt like, oh my God, I was asleep all week. I finally woke up. That's how it felt. I finally woke up. And now that I'm awake, I want you to know, please wake up. Snap out of it. The fear is unnecessary. You're all right. You're all right. You're all right. We are spiritual beings simply having a human experience. Don't fall asleep into thinking that your human experience is somehow more powerful than your spiritual beingness. That's something going on with your body, with your friends' bodies, with the world, with the body of the world is somehow more powerful than your spiritual beingness. There is nothing more powerful than your spiritual beingness. That's the beauty of this. There is nothing more powerful than your spiritual beingness. No matter what's going on with your body. As I relax more and more into that calm assurance, I feel really assured of how my life is unfolding perfectly. It doesn't matter what it looks like, what it feels like. The deeper I can sit in that this is perfect, my heart opens to its beauty. And no matter what the circumstance, I'm starting to see that beauty more. And that's what I offer you. Don't get lost in the horrendous. There's beauty. It's there. I'm starting to see it. And I encourage you to do the same. If you can't see the beauty, take a deep breath, relax, and keep looking. Still don't see the beauty? Take another deep breath, relax, and keep looking. It's there. Love is always there. And when love rises, we rise. When we rise, love rises. When love rises, we rise. When we rise, love rises. And the light is always there. Thank you. God is the source of all supply. Money is God in action. What I give, I receive multiplied abundantly. All that God is, I am, and so it is.